If you like what you see right now, go ahead and stick around because I'm going to walk you through exactly how to build this fully functional elevator shaft that rises all the way to the top and returns to its original position on its own. Now, I know there have been several tutorials on elevators out there, however, I don't believe I've seen a design quite like this. So my goal here is to just share with you some of these things I come up with so you can also enjoy them in your LEGO world. All right, the first thing I did was drop down a dynamic foundation. Once you got that bad boy in the ground, grab these palladial supports, line it up with the center of the back and nudge it back one space, and do the same on the right and the left. Just make sure they're lined up as you see here. Now, if you feel like taking out some aggressions, go ahead and whack the shit out of this dynamic foundation because we don't need that right now, okay? Now grab these foundation blocks you see here, line it up to the back in the middle, and nudge it forward 3 spaces. Now stack 2 of the exact same type on top of each other. This is going to give us some space to add our thrusters. Now slap a dynamic foundation on top of these blocks here, but make sure you have 2 spaces on the right and the left as well as in the front. Doing this is going to save you so much time from trying to get this thing centered on the blocks. You can then walk around just to make sure there's even spaces on all sides. Next, these pillars we're going to drop. Make sure they're in the middle, but you want to nudge them off the side 1 space. You do not want them fully attached to your dynamic foundation. This is where we're going to attach our wheels. Once you've got both sets of wheels on, go ahead and make your way back to the front so that way we can check and make sure the top and bottoms are even with each other on both sides. Now we're going to create our wheel tracks using the palladial pillars. Just go ahead and sandwich those wheels between those bad boys. These are going to act as a guide as the elevator moves its way to the top. We're going to want one on both sides. Now we want to build the exact same wheelbase on the back of this. This is going to give us some additional stability when we build tracks. So follow the same steps we did with the right and left for this part. But again, very important to make sure that the wheels are at the same heights as the right and left. Otherwise, this will not work. This next part is pretty easy but tedious. Just continue to stack these pillars on top of one another until you reach the height you need. Once you built those pillars up to your desired height, jump on down and grab these umber half walls, which we're going to place in all 4 corners of the dynamic foundation. And then once you've got those bad boys down, go ahead and add some additional ones to the side of these corners. This is going to be useful for the weight we're going to need for this to function properly. After we visited Pennywise, we got these balloons that we can now put in all 4 corners of our dynamic foundation, and these are going to pair up with our thrusters, which is what we're going to add next. So ducking down actually helps you get these placed where they need to go, but just make sure that we have them in all 4 corners of the foundation to start, and then add 1 more on each side directly under your wheels. Just make sure they're centered and then do a quick check to go around and make sure they're placed exactly how I showed you. At this point, we're ready to slap that lever and test it out, but before you reach the top, make sure you hit the lever again because this thing will go flying off and completely destroy anything you've done on this foundation. Now that we know it works on its way up, let's test to make sure this thing can return to its original position. I do want to point out you might have to add some more of those umber half walls for weight if it's moving too slow or doesn't make its way down. Next, our goal is to build another border around the tower we've already built using a combination of different rustic beams. I used 4s, 3s, and 1s here. Ultimately, what you want to make sure you do is leave 1 full block space around the entire thing, because as we build up this next part, if it's too close and not a full block space apart, it will not work. Also, as I'm showing you here, the right and left sides want to line up directly with the front of our elevator. Now grab a beam wall, and on the right and left sides, we're going to center it up with our post and nudge it 1 space to the left before we place it down. And then on the back, line it up directly with the center of your wheel. Next, we're going to grab the palladial pillars again and drop those on the right and left sides of all 3 of our beam walls. On top of our beam walls, we're going to put the palladial support. Again, do this around on all 3 of them. Now continue to stack this pattern on all 3 sides of your tower until you reach near the top. However, what you're going to want to do, and I'm going to show you right here, is leave one height of pillar without having one of those beam walls in between it. Now take those pillars and continue to build them all the way up on the right and left of our beam walls, and make sure you do this on all 3 sides of the tower. Now the tower is already starting to look cool, but do not skip out on this next part. We're going to take another pillar here, line it up and nudge it to the right, and we're going to do that on both sides. This one we're going to nudge one to the left. Now continue to add these things all the way till you reach the floor. This is going to give it a lot more detail and cover up those silly gaps that those beam walls have. And just make sure you're doing this to all 3 sides of the tower. Because we have an additional layer of supports we laid down, there's going to be a goofy little gap at the bottom here. Just use some rustic beams to go ahead and fill that in. Now I place these Sugi stairs one down, but whatever you do, leave a gap here. Do not let these things touch your dynamic foundation, otherwise the thing will just explode. I recommend paying close attention here. I use these beams to place inside of my wheel tracks as stoppers. Now I did line them up directly with the lines you can see on this beam, because you're going to want to make sure every stopper is at the exact same height, otherwise it's going to be catastrophic. Now that our heights are all adjusted properly, grab the small wheel and place one under each one of the pillar stoppers. This is necessary to stop the cart from coming unhinged as it hits the top. We're also going to take 2 more small wheels on each one of the pillars and place them just like this. Now the last thing I did was dress it up a bit by adding these lights, evenly spacing them out every other marker as you can see on these beams. This is a cool detail that you can add to your tower to really make it stand out. You don't have to do this exactly, but just an idea of something you can implement. Alright, well that does it for today's tutorial. I hope you all enjoyed this one, and if you did, please show me some support by hitting that like button and subscribing. I will be releasing several more build tutorials on some of the designs that I come up with in this game, so stay tuned for those. And as always, I appreciate the support and for you tuning in. We will catch you in the next one.